Grizzlies fans, welcome into the second half of a back-to-back. The Grizzlies will take on the New York Knicks tonight at FedEx Forum at 7 p.m. Joining me to analyze this one, and he has his hands full for the first time. Gavin Schall is joining me to talk about this one. Okay, I'm going to start with the injury report, Gavin, because I think that's the most important thing before I even ask you a simple question. Is everyone's got to know who's playing for the Grizzlies tonight, and it is not a lot of people who are available for the Grizzlies. Steven is, of course, out. Brandon, Jaw, those guys are out. Marcus is still out. Derek is still out. Santi is out. Dez rolled his ankle yesterday towards the end of the game, so he is out. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is doubtful for this evening. So the question I pose to you is, obviously, Grizzlies fans will look at that, Gavin, and be like, wow, that really sucks. I can't see the positive. But Kelcey here always finds a positive in everything. And I'm thinking maybe a positive, even though you're going up against the best defense since that OG Anunoby trade, is that there's less film on guys like X, Vince, Luke, Roddy, Zaire, where you would be so prepared for a Dez, Jaren, Jaw game. Maybe there's like a little room for to sneak in and grab one here tonight. I want to ask you about the defense of the Knicks, because since that OG Anunoby trade, it has been incredible. What have they been so good at?
Yeah, so last night's game, or 2 nights ago now, against the Dallas Mavericks was sort of the one time they've broken a little bit. Before that, they were 6 points better in net rating defensively than any other team in the league, which is the same gap between 2 and 14. So they weren't only the best defense in basketball, they were the best defense in basketball by an overwhelming margin. And what makes a substantial difference is when you get to put OG Anunoby on the best wing player on another team. That just pushes everyone down a market. All of a sudden, Dante DiVincenzo isn't like in over his head trying to guard like a Paul George or a Kawhi Leonard. Jalen Brunson's matchup is more manageable inevitably. And I think that's been combined with Isaiah Hartenstein playing his best basketball of the season. He had 5 blocks like 2 nights ago, contained Joel Embiid about as well as you possibly could in that game against the Sixers. And this is just such a huge jump for the Knicks because they started the season as the best defense in all of basketball. And then when Mitchell Robinson got hurt, the ensuing 5 or 6 games, they were the worst defense in the league. And it was by like 3 or 4 points. So Anunoby's just been totally transformative. Obviously can take on the best guard. Another team is guarding Kyrie Irving the other night. He can switch onto a Joel Embiid, a Karl Anthony Towns, a total Swiss Army knife. And I think it's encouraged everyone to play that much harder because he's sort of setting the standard.
I also forgot to mention Mitchell Robinson. Of course, he is out for the Knicks for an extended period of time. I want to talk because Grizzlies fans have not seen the Knicks so far this season. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are a tandem from hell if you are an opponent. They're combined for 50 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists per game. Just unreal. What have you liked from them?
They've been incredible this year. Jalen Brunson has taken another step forward. The question when he was coming over from the Mavs, I think, was what type of 3-point shooter was he going to be? And how could the Knicks offense that was already spacing deficient survive if he wasn't a great 3-point shooter? Because in Dallas, very talented as a spot-up guy, getting wide open corner threes from Luka Doncic. It's a good way to live, Kelcey. And he came to New York, and obviously those shots weren't going to be there. He's going to have to hit a lot more self-created threes. And not only has he started taking those shots, he's made them at an incredible rate, 42% from 3 this year, one of the best pull-up 3-point shooters in all of basketball this year. I think you can just flat out say he is one of the best 3-point shooters in basketball this season at 6 attempts per game with that kind of efficiency. And that has transformed the Knicks offense. And I think there were some questions about how sustainable their 3rd-ranked offense in basketball was a year ago, because they did that somehow without shooting the ball well, which you and I would say, isn't that kind of the whole thing you're supposed to do offensively? And they survive with offensive rebounds and low turnover rate. But I think Brunson has created some more built-in sustainability with that shooting. And then Julius Randle, the first 6 games of the year, it was quite literally a historically bad start to the season. And he has done an incredible job bouncing back from that, playing with an exceptional amount of force. Last year, the story with Randle was that he was taking far and away the most 3-pointers per game in his career. This year, it's a lot more around the basket. He's been using his size, his speed, his physicality, and has a great touch on those short turnaround jumpers. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jalen Brunson now questionable with that left calf contusion, unless I haven't got an update, Kelcey. I might have missed it if someone came out and said he was playing. But as far as I know, the Knicks didn't have shoot around this morning. So potentially a break for the Grizzlies, which would be well deserved given all the injuries you guys are dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, Grizzlies fans are they've seen these every game, and so they do know that we film these ahead of time. So like game time decisions and stuff like that is subject to change. So thank you for that one, Jalen Brunson. Obviously, we never wish an injury on anyone, but it would be a big break for the Grizzlies tonight, and then hopefully he's fine for the next game.
Thank you.
For the Knicks, you brought up the shooting. They're 10th in 3-point attempts in the league. They're 8th in 3-point percentage. You talked about Brunson. They've actually got 4 guys who are shooting about 40% from the 3, which is crazy. I'm going to task you with this, Gavin. You are, for the next 1 minute, the Grizzlies coaching staff. How do you go about defending how well the Knicks have been shooting from the 3?
I think it's very different if Jalen plays and if he doesn't play. I think if Jalen doesn't play, the Grizzlies have a fantastic opportunity to stop the Knicks because there's no Emmanuel Quickly here anymore to save the day. Last season, he played like an all-star in the 20 or so games he started. And we basically said when the trade happened, look, they're going to be awesome when Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are on the floor. If one of them's off the floor, in particular, if Jalen Brunson's off the floor, you could have a disastrous scenario because there's really no one else on this team that can pick up that creation burden. Deuce McBride is the backup point guard right now for the Knicks, and he has shot the ball. He's another guy who maybe is close to 40%, who shot the ball really well, but he's not a true point guard. So if I'm the Grizzlies coaching staff, I am pressing out on shooters and I am not giving an inch, and I'm daring them to say, you want to pump and drive and throw it back out. You can do that all day. Dante DiVincenzo, go to the rim, try to finish over Jaren Jackson Jr. as much as humanly possible. And I'm throwing doubles, maybe even triples at Julius Randle. That was famously the strategy of the Hawks in that playoff series a few years ago. We saw Dallas mix that in the other night, and Randle eventually got the hang of it, but at times he really, really struggled with it. I would just make him see a whole lot of bodies. I think you're going to get some turnovers, and that's if Brunson's out. If Brunson's in, I'm doubling the Knicks stars, and if the shooters go off, the shooters go off. You just want to keep Randle and Brunson from being super efficient.
All right, I'm going to end this with something real quick. Look, I usually pick between these 2 things, and usually it's like either what matchup are you excited for, or this one that I'll go with, but I'm not going to put you on the spot with matchups because we don't know who, honestly, we don't know. We could possibly have none of our starters starting tonight. So I'm not going to do that.
You might be out there, Kelcey, if there's 1 or 2 more injuries.
Hey, I played.
Yeah, I was serious. Yeah.
Fill in the blank. If the Knicks do blank well tonight, they give themselves a good chance to win this game.
I think if they take the Grizzlies seriously, because that was the issue against the Mavericks the other night, where there was no Luka Doncic, there was no Derek Lively, there was no Dante Exum, and Kyrie Irving came out and torched them for 44. Tim Hardaway Jr. had like 32, and they lost a game that was totally winnable. At one point, the fast break points, I think, were 25-1. And it was low energy. It was the Knicks walking in and saying, hey, we've been kicking everyone's butts. We're going to keep rolling. And they took them lightly, and they got ran out the gym for it because they're a serious team. The Grizzlies similarly are a serious organization. They're an exceptionally well-coached team. You don't come out to play. Those guys who don't get to play a whole lot, they're going to be incredibly fired up. The Knicks on the season are 15-1 against teams under 500. I believe that's tied or just behind the Denver Nuggets for the best record in the league against teams without 500. They've been taking care of business all year, so I expect them to do just that. But the other night, again, they didn't come to play. And this is a team with good talent, but particularly without Jalen Brunson, they're vulnerable. And they have to bring that Tom Thibodeau style of intensity if they want to come out and win.
This one tips off at 7 p.m. It is in Memphis. Dress warm because it is cold out there. Gavin, thank you so very much. And I guess we'll see you in a while, right? We play the Knicks again sometime soon, and hopefully we have a couple more players there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.